Admiral Kim Tae-ho stood in the center of the United Earth Council chamber. His uniform was pressed and clean, but his eyes showed the weight of 3 years of war. In his hands, he held a small crystal device that would change everything. The HFY device contained humanity's final message to the Galactic Empire. The council chamber was quiet. 50 representatives from Earth's colonies sat in their seats waiting. Each person in that room had lost someone. Friends, family, entire cities had been destroyed by the Empire's ships. Kim Tae-ho looked at their faces and saw the same thing in everyone: anger mixed with determination. 3 years ago, Kim Tae-ho began, his voice steady. The Galactic Empire attacked Luna Colony without warning. They killed 2.3 million people. Men, women, children, babies who had never even seen Earth. They burned our moon city to ash and told us it was a mistake. Dr. Park So-min stood from her seat. She was Earth's top expert on alien species, and she had been studying the Empire since first contact 5 years ago. Her research had led to some terrible discoveries. It was not a mistake, Dr. Park said. I have studied their communications, their culture, their history. The Empire sees us as pests. They think humans are like insects that need to be killed before we spread to more worlds. They have done this before to 12 other species. We are just the latest. The room stirred. Everyone knew this, but hearing it said out loud still hurt. Commander Lee Han-sol, the head of Earth's Space Navy, stood up next. Our ships are outnumbered 50-1, Lee Han-sol said. Their technology is better than ours. Their weapons are stronger. Their shields are tougher. By every measure, we should surrender and hope they let some of us live. Kim Tae-ho nodded. That is what any reasonable species would do. That is what the Empire expects us to do. They have sent us terms of surrender. We give up all our colonies, except Earth. We limit our population to 1 billion people. We work for them as slaves for the next 1,000 years. A young woman named Yoon Hye-rim spoke from the back of the room. She represented the Mars colonies. Admiral, my family died on Luna. My brother was 6 years old. What do we tell their memory if we surrender? Kim Tae-ho looked at her for a long moment. Then he looked at the crystal device in his hands. We tell them that humans do not kneel to murderers. Dr. Park So-min activated a large screen behind the Admiral. It showed images from the Empire's own records, cities burning on other worlds, species that had been wiped out completely, some planets that were now empty rocks floating in space. They gave these other species the same choice, Dr. Park said. Surrender and serve or die fighting. Most chose to surrender. It did not matter. The Empire killed them anyway. Slowly, over decades. They worked their slaves to death and then find new slaves. Lee Han-sol walked to the center of the room. We have been preparing for this day since Luna burned. Every human colony, every ship, every factory has been getting ready. We are not the same species we were 3 years ago. Kim Tae-ho held up the crystal device. This contains our final diplomatic message to the Empire. There will be no more negotiations, no more attempts at peace, no more hoping they will see reason. The Admiral placed the device into a communication station. On the screen, words appeared in both human and Empire languages. Final notice to the Galactic Empire. We do not negotiate with murderers. We do not run away. We do not surrender. We do not stop until everything you have built is ash. The room was silent for 10 seconds. Then someone started clapping. Soon everyone was standing and clapping, not because they were happy about war, but because they were finally done pretending that peace was possible. Lee Han-sol took the communication device. I will send this message on all Empire frequencies. Every ship, every planet, every station they have will receive it. Do it, Kim Tae-ho said. The message went out across space at the speed of light. It would take days to reach the farthest Empire worlds, but the closest ones would receive it in hours. The Empire would know that humanity had chosen war. Dr. Park So-min brought up another screen. This one showed human colonies across 42 star systems. The moment we send this message, Protocol Omega begins. Every human world will start. Total war production. Every civilian will become a soldier or a worker supporting soldiers. Yoon Hye-rim asked, "What are our chances of winning?" Kim Tae-ho smiled for the first time in months. "The Empire thinks we are weak because we have fewer ships and worse technology. They do not understand what humans become when you murder our children." Lee Han-sol pressed the transmission button. Across the galaxy, humanity's declaration of war began its journey to Empire space. At the same moment, signals went out to every human colony. Protocol Omega was now active. On Mars, factories that made farming equipment began making weapons instead. On Titan, shipyards that built cargo ships started building warships. In the Ides asteroid belt, mining platforms became weapons factories. Every human settlement did the same thing at the same time. The Empire had made one terrible mistake. They thought humans were like other species. They thought humans would accept slavery to avoid death. They did not understand that humans had something most species lost millions of years ago: the willingness to fight impossible odds when their families were threatened. 3 hours after the message was sent, the Empire responded. Their reply was short. Primitive species will be eliminated within one solar cycle. Resistance is futile. Kim Tae-ho read the message aloud to the council. When he finished, the room laughed. Not happy laughter, but the kind of laughter soldiers make before a battle they might not survive. "They still do not understand," Dr. Park So-min said. "They think this is about winning and losing. This is about something much more important." Lee Han-sol was already working at his station, coordinating with fleet commanders across human space. "Our ships are moving into position. The Empire will find out what happens when you threaten human children." Kim Tae-ho looked out the window at Earth's orbital shipyards. Already he could see new ships being built. The Empire would arrive expecting to find a broken, scared species ready to surrender. Instead, they would find 4 billion humans who had decided that some things were worth dying for, and if humans had to die, they would make sure the Empire died with them. The crystal device finished transmitting. Somewhere in space, the Empire's commanders were reading humanity's final diplomatic message. Soon, they would learn what those words really meant. The age of diplomacy was over. The age of ash was about to begin. Captain Choi Min-jun stood on the bridge of the UES Incheon and watched something that should have been impossible. The orbital stations around Earth were changing. What had looked like simple trade platforms and research stations were unfolding, like giant metal flowers. "Sir," his communications officer said, "we are receiving the transformation codes now." Choi Min-jun nodded. He had known this day would come, but seeing it happen was still amazing. All around Earth, in the asteroid belt, around Mars and the outer planets, structures that had been built over the past 3 years were revealing their true purpose. "Those are not trade stations," his weapons officer whispered. "No," Choi Min-jun said. "They are weapons factories. The biggest weapons factories ever built." Engineer Yang Hye-jin was working deep inside Ceres Station when the Protocol Omega signal came through. She had been waiting for this moment. For 3 years, she had been designing mining equipment that could be quickly changed into shipbuilding tools. "All teams, begin conversion now," she announced over the station communication system. Around her, thousands of workers began the process they had practiced hundreds of times. Mining drills became metal-cutting tools. Ore processors became armor-making machines. Transport ships became the skeletons of warships. Yang Hye-jin pulled up the production schedules on her computer. According to the plan, Ceres Station alone would build 60 warships in the next month. Every asteroid mining station in the belt would do the same thing. "The Empire thinks we are a primitive species," she said to her assistant, Nam Ki-woo. "They are about to learn what humans can build when we put our minds to it." Nam Ki-woo looked at the numbers on the screen. "These production rates seem impossible," Yang Hyejin smiled. "The Empire evolved on worlds where resources were limited. They learned to be careful, to plan slowly, to build things that last forever. Humans evolved on a world with lots of resources. We learned to build fast, build many, and replace them when they break." On Europa, Dr. Kang Ji-young was overseeing the conversion of the ice mining facilities into shipyards. The moon's underground, oceans provided unlimited water, which could be split into hydrogen and oxygen for fuel. The ice itself could be melted and used as reaction mass for engines. "How many ships can we build here?" asked her supervisor, Park Hyun-woo. Dr. Kang Ji-young checked her calculations. "With current resources, we can launch one frigate every 8 hours. If we push the workers to 12-hour shifts, we can do one every 6 hours. Park Hyun-woo stared at her. "That is one ship every 6 hours from just this one facility?" "Yes. And we have 47 facilities just on Europa. Across human space, the same scene was playing out. On Titan, massive factories that had been built to process methane were being converted to build ship engines. On Ganymede, agricultural domes were being turned into crew training facilities. Even on Earth itself, car factories and electronics plants were switching to military production. Lieutenant Colonel Nam Ji-woo received his orders while orbiting Proxima Centauri. His small patrol fleet of 12 ships had been watching the Empire's border for months. Now he was being told to attack. "Sir," his navigator said, "we are detecting an Empire patrol fleet, 3 heavy cruisers and 6 destroyers." Nam Ji-woo looked at his own ships. 6 frigates, 4 destroyers, and 2 old cruisers that had been built for exploration, not fighting. By any normal calculation, his fleet should run away. "All ships," he broadcast, "implement Swarm Protocol Alpha. Remember, we are not trying to win a fair fight. We are trying to win." The human ships spread out into a wide formation. Instead of approaching the Empire fleet directly, they came from 6 different directions at once. The Empire ships tried to focus their fire, but they could not target all the human ships at the same time. "Empire ships are faster and have better shields," Nam Ji-woo told his officers. "But they fight like they are in a duel. They expect us to line up and trade shots like gentlemen." The first human ship to reach the Empire fleet was the frigate Seoul. Instead of trying to fight the much larger Empire cruiser, the Seoul fired all its missiles at once and then rammed into the cruiser's engine section. Both ships exploded. But while the Empire had lost one of their most powerful vessels, humanity had lost their smallest one. "All ships, follow Seoul's example," Nam Ji-woo ordered. "Trade up. Always trade up." The battle lasted 20 minutes. When it was over, the Empire fleet was destroyed. Nam Ji-woo had lost 8 of his 12 ships, but he had eliminated a force that should have been able to destroy him easily. "Send a message to Fleet Command," he told his communications officer. "Tactic confirmed effective. Request immediate replacement ships." The reply came back in 2 hours. "Replacement fleet already in transit. ETA 6 hours. Nam Ji-woo stared at the message. 6 hours? It should take weeks to replace 8 warships. His answer came when the replacement fleet arrived. Instead of 8 ships, he received 20. And they were not old exploration vessels converted for war. They were brand new ships, built specifically for fighting, armed with weapons designed by people who had studied every Empire weakness. "Where did these ships come from?" he asked the fleet commander. "Titan Yards launched them yesterday," came the reply. "They are rolling new ships off the production line every 4 hours now." Back on Earth, the Empire's spies were sending frantic reports to their commanders. The numbers they were reporting seemed impossible. Humanity was launching new warships faster than any species in galactic history. Admiral Kim Tae-ho read these spy reports with satisfaction. The Empire still did not understand what they were facing. They thought in terms of traditional warfare, where armies fought with the equipment they had at the start of the war. They do not realize that for humans, war is not about the ships. You start with, he told Dr. Park So-min, war is about how fast you can build new ships. Dr. Park So-min pulled up production numbers from across human space. Current output is exceeding all projections. We are now building ships faster than we are losing them, even with active combat. How is that possible? Simple. Every time we lose a ship, we learn something new about how to build the next one better. Every time we win a battle, we build more factories. The Empire's advantage is their existing fleet. Our advantage is our ability to grow our fleet. Engineer. Yang Hae-jin had been working for 36 hours straight when she received a priority message from Earth. The Empire was sending a major fleet to attack the Sol system. Intelligence suggested they would arrive in 6 days. How many ships do we have ready? She asked her production coordinator, Lee Sung-min. As of this hour, we have 1,247 ships of frigate size or larger ready for combat. And how many will we have in 6 days? Lee Sung-min checked his computer. If we maintain current production rates, we will have 1,191 ships. Yang Hae-jin nodded. Send a message to all production facilities. We are increasing quotas by 50%. I do not care if the workers collapse from exhaustion. When the Empire arrives, they need to see so many human ships that their computers cannot count them all. The message went out across human space. Factories that were already running at maximum capacity found ways to run faster. Workers who were already working 16-hour days started working 20-hour days. Humans who had never touched a welding tool learned to build warships. The Empire had made the mistake of thinking that war was about quality over quantity. They built a few perfect ships and expected them to last forever. Humans understood that war was about replacement rates. It did not matter how perfect your ship was if your enemy could build 10 ships in the time it took you to build one. Captain Choi Min-jun watched the production numbers scroll across his screen. In 6 days, the Empire would arrive at Earth expecting to find a small, desperate fleet. Instead, they would find the largest armada in galactic history, built by a species that had turned their entire civilization into a weapon factory. "Sir," his communications officer said, "message from Admiral Kim Tae-ho. The Empire fleet has been detected entering our outer system." Choi Min-jun smiled. "Tell the Admiral that we are ready for them, and tell him that by the time this battle is over, we will have built enough ships to replace everything we lose twice over." The industrial might of humanity was about to be tested. But as the Empire would soon learn, there was a reason humans had conquered an entire planet before they ever reached the stars. They knew how to build, and they knew how to build fast. General Kang Soo-hyun studied the tactical display showing the Empire's fleet formation. 27 massive ships arranged in perfect geometric patterns, advancing toward Earth like they were participating in a parade. Their formation was beautiful, disciplined, and completely predictable. "They fight like they did 1,000 years ago," Kang Soo-hyun said to his staff. "Honor formations, predictable movements, fair fights. They have not learned anything new because they have never needed to." His aide, Major Lim Da-young, pointed to the human fleet positions. "Our ships are scattered across 3 light hours of space, no formation at all." "Exactly," the general said. "They expect us to line up and trade shots like gentlemen. Instead, we are going to fight like humans." Specialist Yoon Da-eun floated in the darkness between 2 Empire ships, her suit's stealth systems keeping her invisible. She had been drifting here for 6 hours, waiting for the perfect moment. Behind her, 11 other human commandos waited in the cold vacuum of space. The Empire's ships were massive and powerful, but they had one weakness that human intelligence had discovered. The aliens who built them were larger than humans and came from a high-gravity world. Their ships had wide corridors and bright lighting because that was what felt comfortable to them. "Target acquired," Yoon Da-yoon whispered into her comm. Dreadnought, eternal glory. Beginning approach. The human commandos moved through space using tiny thrusters, approaching the massive ship from its blind spot. The Empire's sensors were designed to detect other ships, not individual humans in spacesuits. They attached to the ship's hull and began cutting through the armor with plasma torches. The Empire had never faced an enemy crazy enough to send soldiers to attack ships in the vacuum of space. Breach complete, Yoon Da-eun reported, beginning interior assault. The moment they entered the ship, the humans had the advantage. The corridors that felt spacious to the tall Empire aliens felt cramped to the shorter humans. The bright lights that the aliens needed to see clearly were blinding to human eyes that had evolved to work in dim conditions. Yoon Da-eun moved through the ship like a ghost. Her team split up and attacked from 6 different directions at once. The Empire's security forces had trained to fight boarding parties that would come through the main airlocks. They had never prepared for enemies who would cut through the hull and attack from inside the walls. Engine room secured, reported. Sergeant Oh Min-ki, bridge secured, reported Corporal Kim Hyo-jun. Weapons control secured, Yoon Da-eun said, as she held her rifle on the ship's gunnery officer. In 12 minutes, 11 humans had captured a ship with a crew of 800 aliens. Dr. Shin Bo-ra watched the battle from the command center on Earth. She was humanity's top military strategist, and she had spent 3 years studying every battle the Empire had ever fought. They have one way of fighting, she explained to her team. Fleet meets fleet, strongest ship wins, honor is maintained. It has worked for them for 1,000 years because every species they fought used the same basic tactics. On her screen, she watched as human ships did things that should have been impossible. Frigates worked together to destroy cruisers. Damaged ships rammed into enemy vessels instead of retreating. Cargo haulers that had been fitted with weapons attacked from directions that the Empire's tactical computers said were impossible. Sir, her assistant, Lieutenant Park Jae-young, said, "The Empire is requesting a parley. They want to discuss terms." Dr. Shin Bo-ra laughed. "Terms? We have been fighting for 2 hours, and they want to negotiate." What should I tell them? Tell them we are busy. We will talk after we finish destroying their fleet. The Empire's admiral, a being that had commanded fleets for 300 years, stared at his tactical display in confusion. Nothing the humans were doing made sense according to his training. His ships were superior in every way. Better weapons, better shields, better armor, but somehow the humans were winning. Every time his forces destroyed a human ship, 2 more appeared to take its place. Every time he thought he understood their tactics, they changed them completely. "Sir," his tactical officer said, "the humans are using their damaged ships as missiles." "That is impossible. No species would waste ships like that." "Sir, 3 of our cruisers have been destroyed by damaged human vessels that rammed into them." The admiral watched on his screen as a human destroyer, its engines disabled and its weapons offline, used its maneuvering thrusters to crash into one of his ships. Both vessels exploded, but the destroyer had been about to be destroyed anyway. "They trade their worst ships for our best ships," the tactical officer continued. "It makes no economic sense." That was when the admiral began to understand. The Empire thought of war in terms of economics. Ships cost resources to build, so you preserved them. Crews took time to train, so you protected them. War was about minimizing losses while achieving objectives. Humans thought of war differently. War was about winning, no matter the cost. If destroying their own ship would take out an enemy ship, they did it without hesitation. If a tactic worked once, they used it until the enemy adapted, then immediately switched to something completely different. Captain Won Tae-ho led his squadron in an attack that would have been impossible for any other species. His ships spread out across a light minute of space and attacked the Empire formation from 40 different angles at the same time. "This is insane," his weapons officer, Lieutenant Seo Hyunju, said. "We cannot coordinate an attack across this distance. The light speed delay alone makes it impossible." "That is what the Empire thinks," Won Tae-ho said. That is why it will work. The human ships had been practicing this maneuver for months. Each ship captain had a detailed plan that told them exactly when to fire, when to turn, when to retreat. They did not need to communicate with each other during the battle because they had already planned every move. The Empire's ships tried to respond, but their coordination systems could not handle attacks coming from 40 directions at once. Their computers kept trying to prioritize targets, but by the time they locked onto one human ship, it had already fired and moved away. "Sir," Lieutenant Seo Hyunju said, "we have destroyed their flagship." One Tai-ho looked at his tactical display. The Empire's beautiful formation was breaking apart. Ships that had fought together for decades were scattering in all directions. "Send a message to all human ships," he ordered. "Begin pursuit phase. Do not let any Empire ship escape." Dr. Shinbo Ra watched as the battle entered its final phase. The Empire's ships were trying to retreat, but the human fleet had spread out in a sphere around them. Every escape route was blocked. "They still do not understand," she said to her team. "They think this is a battle. For them, it is about winning or losing with honor." "What is it for us?" Lieutenant Park Jae-young asked. "For us, this is about making sure they never threaten human children again. There is no honor in genocide. There is no fairness in murder. When someone tries to wipe out your species, you do not fight them fairly. You destroy them completely." The battle ended 6 hours after it began. 27 Empire ships had entered the Sol system. None of them would ever leave. General Kang Soo-hyun read the final reports. Enemy casualties, complete. Human casualties, 47 ships, 12,000 personnel. Major Lim Da-young looked at the numbers. "Sir, we lost more people than the Empire has in their entire fleet." "Yes," Kang Soo-hyun said. "But we can replace our losses in 3 days. It took them 50 years to build the fleet we just destroyed." The Empire's survivors were taken prisoner and treated well, according to human customs of war. Many of them seemed surprised to be alive. Yoon Da-eun spoke with one of the captured officers through a translator. "Why did you not kill us?" the alien asked. "Because you surrendered," Yoon Da-eun said. "Humans do not kill prisoners. But your species is so violent. You fight with no honor, no rules." Yoon Da-eun thought about this for a moment. "We fight without honor because honor is a luxury. When someone tries to murder your family, you do not worry about fighting fairly. You worry about making sure your family survives." News of the victory spread across human space in hours. But, more importantly, it spread across Empire space as well. For the first time in their history, the Empire had lost an entire fleet to what they considered a primitive species. Dr. Shinbo Ra was already planning the next phase of the war. "They will send a larger fleet next time. More ships, better planning, new tactics designed to counter what we did here." "Are you worried?" Lieutenant Park Jae-young asked. "No," Dr. Shinbo Ra said. "By the time they adapt to what we did today, we will have invented completely new ways to fight. That is the advantage of being human. We do not just learn from our mistakes. We evolve faster than our enemies can adapt." The Empire had learned an important lesson. Humans did not fight wars the way other species did. But they had not yet learned the most important lesson of all. Humans did not just want to win battles. They wanted to win the war so completely that it would never have to be fought again. Major Im Seung-woo read the order twice before he understood what it meant. The paper in his hands contained the most important military directive in human history, signed by Admiral Kim Tae-ho himself. All Empire worlds that refuse unconditional. Surrender will be subject to complete orbital bombardment. No exceptions, no mercy. Remember, Luna? Im Seung-woo looked up at his fleet commanders gathered around the briefing table. 23 ships, the largest human fleet ever assembled, waited in orbit around the Empire world of Kepler Prime. "Sir," Commander Lee Sun-young said, "there are 4 billion civilians on that planet. Mostly families, children, non-combatants. I know, Im Sung-woo replied. I have read the intelligence reports. Do you know what those same civilians did when news of Luna Colony's destruction reached their world? The room was quiet. They celebrated, Im Sung-woo continued. They held parades. Their children sang songs about the death of human babies. Their government issued a statement calling it a good first step toward cleaning up the galaxy. Dr. Oh Mi-young, the fleet's diplomatic advisor, stood up. She had been Earth's ambassador to the Empire before the war started. Now she wore a military uniform instead of diplomatic robes. I spent 2 years trying to make peace with these people, she said. I attended their cultural events, learned their languages, studied their customs. I believed that understanding would lead to friendship. She activated a holographic display showing recordings from Empire worlds, videos of aliens cheering as they watched human cities burn. Children's programs that taught young aliens that humans were vermin to be exterminated. They do not see us as people, Dr. Oh Mi-young continued. To them, we are an infection that needs to be cured. They will never stop trying to kill us unless we make it impossible for them to continue. Commander Lee Sun-young shifted uncomfortably. Sir, surely there must be some Empire civilians who oppose the war, some who want peace. Perhaps, Im Sung-woo said. But their government speaks for them. Their military acts for them. Their taxes pay for the ships that burn our worlds. If they truly wanted peace, they would have stopped their leaders before Luna died. Captain Ryu Tae-young had been silent during the briefing, but now he spoke up. What exactly are our orders, sir? Im Sung-woo read from the directive. We broadcast humanity's terms to every Empire world. Complete surrender, immediate cessation of all military operations, full reparations for human losses. Any world that accepts these terms will be occupied but protected. Any world that refuses, he did not need to finish the sentence. Everyone in the room understood. Sir, Dr. Oh Mi-young said, we should offer them one chance to reconsider. Even humans deserve to understand their choices before they make them. Im Sung-woo nodded. Agreed. Open a channel to Kepler Prime. The main screen showed the Empire's planetary governor, a tall alien with blue-gray skin and 4 arms. The creature looked at the human fleet with obvious contempt. I am Governor Thex Milan of the Kepler system, the alien said through the translator. You will withdraw your primitive vessels immediately or face the consequences. Im Sung-woo stepped forward. I am Major Im Sung-woo of the United Earth Space Force. I am here to offer you one opportunity to surrender unconditionally and save your people. The governor's laugh sounded like grinding metal. Surrender? To you? We have received reports of your small victories, human. You may have surprised a few patrol fleets, but you face the full might of the Empire now. Governor, Dr. Oh Mi-young said, we are offering you the chance to live. Your people, your children, your entire civilization, all we require is complete surrender. And if we refuse? Im Sung-woo's voice remained calm. Then in 6 hours, your world will be reduced to molten rock. Every city, every structure, every living thing on the surface will be destroyed. The governor's 4 arms gestured dismissively. Impossible. Your ships lack the firepower to threaten a defended world. Our planetary shields are impenetrable. Captain Ryu Tae-young spoke from his position at the tactical station. Sir, the planet's shields are at full power, estimated strength, enough to stop any normal bombardment. Good, Im Sung-woo said. Begin Siege Protocol 7. Across the human fleet, ships that had looked like normal cruisers and destroyers began to change. Armor plates slid back to reveal massive weapons that should not have been able to fit inside such small vessels. Cargo bays opened to release swarms of missile pods. What are those? Governor Thex Milan demanded. Those are planet killers, Im Sung-woo said. We built them specifically for worlds that refuse to surrender. You see, Governor, we learned something from Luna Colony. Sometimes the only way to stop a genocide is to make it too expensive to continue. The bombardment began with a single missile. It struck the planetary shield and exploded with the force of a small star. The shield held, but it flickered. "Impossible," the governor said. "No ship-mounted weapon has that much power." "You are right," Dr. Omi Young said. "No ship-mounted weapon does. But that was not a ship-mounted weapon. That was a planetary bombardment system that we happened to mount on a ship." A second missile struck the shield. This time, it flickered more noticeably. Governor Im Sung-woo said, "You have 5 hours and 58 minutes to surrender. After that, we will not be able to stop the bombardment even if you change your mind." This is madness. You would destroy an entire world over a minor border incident? Dr. Oh Mi-young's voice turned cold. Luna Colony was not a border incident. It was the systematic murder of 2.3 million innocent people. And it was not the first time your empire has committed genocide. She activated another display, showing the locations of 12 dead worlds. These are the species your empire has cleansed over the past 500 years. Billions of people, entire civilizations, wiped out because you decided they were inconvenient. Commander Lee Sun-young was monitoring communications from the planet. "Sir, we are receiving massive traffic from the surface. The civilian population is trying to contact their government, demanding answers." "Let me guess," Im Sung-woo said. "They were not told about Luna Colony. They were not told about the other dead species. They thought their empire was peaceful and civilized." "That appears to be correct, sir." Governor Thex Malon's image on the screen was beginning to show cracks in his composure. "You do not understand our culture. The Empire maintains order in the galaxy. Sometimes harsh measures are necessary for the greater good." "Governor," Dr. Oh Mi-young said, "I spent 2 years studying your culture. I know exactly what your empire is. The question is, do your people know?" A third missile struck the planetary shield. This time, sections of it failed completely before regenerating. 4 hours and 55 minutes, Im Sung-woo announced. Down on the planet's surface, the civilian population was beginning to panic. Video feeds from the cities showed massive crowds demanding that their government explain what was happening. Many of them had never heard of humans before today. "Sir," Commander Lee Sun-young reported, "we are receiving surrender offers from individual cities. They want to surrender separately from the planetary government." "Negative," Im Sung-woo said. "The planet surrenders as one unit, or it burns as one unit. We will not allow the Empire to play games with partial surrenders." Governor Thex Malon tried one last time. "What you are proposing is genocide. You would be no better than what you claim we are." Dr. Oh Mi-young shook her head. "No, Governor. Genocide is what you did to Luna Colony. Genocide is what you did to the Kalari species, and the Thune, and the other 10 races your empire wiped out. This is justice. You are making us choose between slavery and death." "Yes," Im Sung-woo said simply. "That is the same choice you gave every species you conquered. The only difference is that we are strong enough to enforce our decision." A fourth missile struck the shield. Large sections of it failed for several seconds before slowly rebuilding. 2 hours remaining, Captain Ryu Tae-young announced. Down on the planet, the civilian riots were getting worse. The population had discovered their government's secret files about the war with humanity. They learned about Luna Colony for the first time. They learned about the other genocides their empire had committed in their name. "Sir," Commander Lee Sun-young said, "the planetary government has been overthrown. A civilian council is requesting permission to surrender." Im Sung-woo looked at Dr. Oh Mi-young. "Is this a legitimate surrender or a trick?" "Scanning their communications now," she said. "The military commanders have been arrested by their own people. The civilian population is demanding immediate surrender. This appears to be genuine." "Very well. Cease bombardment. Prepare for occupation duty." The missiles stopped firing. The planetary shield, damaged but still functional, continued to protect the world below. Governor Thex Malin's image had been replaced by a female alien who looked terrified. "I am Council Leader Weeth Senna. We surrender unconditionally to human forces. Please do not destroy our world." Im Seung-woo nodded. "Surrender accepted. You will be treated according to human laws of war. Your people will not be harmed as long as they cooperate with occupation forces." Dr. Oh Mi-young added, "We will also provide humanitarian aid to help your people rebuild their government without the influence of the Empire's military." Fleet Admiral Park Chan-ho stood on the bridge of humanity's newest weapon and watched 3 suns burn in the distance. The mobile fortress he commanded had been built from the dead core of a planet, hollowed out and filled with enough firepower to crack worlds. Around him, the largest human fleet ever assembled waited for his orders. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "all fleet commanders are ready. We have 2,847 ships in attack formation." Park Chan-ho nodded. In the 2 years since the war began, humanity had learned to build fleets the way other species built single ships. The Empire's core worlds lay ahead, protected by defenses that had never been breached in 1,000 years of galactic history. "Begin the final assault," he ordered. Colonel Lee Yun-ji checked her weapons one last time before leading her troops into the transport ship. She commanded the 1st Human Assault Division, 50,000 soldiers trained specifically for fighting in alien environments. Today, they would attack the Empire's capital world directly. "Listen up," she told her officers over the comm system. "The Empire's ground forces are bigger than us, stronger than us, and have been training for war longer than our species has existed. They also think they know how humans fight." Lieutenant Kim Byul-yi, her youngest platoon commander, asked, "What is our advantage, sir?" "Simple," Lee Yun-ji said. "They still think war has rules." The transport ships launched from the human fleet and began their descent toward the Empire's capital. The planet below was the center of a civilization that had ruled the galaxy for centuries. Its cities covered entire continents, and its orbital defenses could destroy normal fleets before they got close. But the human fleet was not normal. As the transports descended, the orbital fortresses that should have stopped them were already burning from the assault of Park Chan-ho's planet-killer ships. Admiral Kim Min-soo watched the Empire's defensive fleet try to respond to the human attack. The enemy ships were magnificent, each one a work of art that had taken decades to build. Their commanders were skilled warriors with centuries of experience. "Sir," his tactical officer said, "the Empire fleet is moving to intercept 47 capital ships, including their flagship Imperial Destiny." Kim Min-soo looked at his own fleet. Most of his ships were less than 6 months old, built in the crash production programs that had turned human space into a weapon factory. They were not as beautiful as the Empire ships, but they had one advantage that mattered more than beauty. "There are more of us," he said. "Execute Swarm Pattern Delta." The human fleet spread out like a cloud of angry insects. Instead of meeting the Empire fleet in traditional formation, they attacked from every direction at once. For every Empire ship, there were 6 human ships ready to fight it. The battle was not elegant. Human ships rammed into Empire vessels. Damaged human cruisers used themselves as guided missiles. Entire squadrons of human fighters sacrificed themselves to take out single Empire battleships. But when the smoke cleared, the Empire's defensive fleet was gone. 47 of their most powerful ships had been destroyed by a human fleet that fought like a swarm of predators rather than a traditional navy. Down on the planet's surface, Colonel Lee Yun-ji led her troops through the Empire's capital city. The streets were designed for beings much larger than humans, but her soldiers had trained for this. They moved through the wide avenues like ghosts, using the Empire's own architecture against them. "Contact front," Sergeant Ote-jin reported. "Empire ground forces, battalion strength." Lee Yun-ji looked at the enemy formation through her binoculars. The Empire soldiers were impressive, each one standing 3 meters tall and armed with weapons that could punch through tank armor. They moved in perfect formation, disciplined and coordinated. "Classic mistake," she told her officers. "They are fighting the last war, not this war." The Empire forces expected the humans to meet them in open battle, army against army. Instead, Lee Yunji split her forces into hundreds of small teams that attacked from buildings, sewers, maintenance tunnels, and rooftops. The Empire soldiers found themselves fighting an enemy that was everywhere and nowhere at the same time. "Sir," Lieutenant Kim Byol-yi radioed, "the enemy is requesting a formal battle. They want us to meet them in the city's main square for an honorable engagement." Lee Yunji laughed. "Tell them we are busy. We will be with them shortly." While half her forces kept the Empire army distracted in the city center, the other half captured the Planetary Defense Control Center, the government buildings, and the spaceport. By the time the Empire commanders realized what was happening, human soldiers controlled everything that mattered on their capital world. Dr. Baek Soo-jin walked through the Empire's great library while the battle raged outside. She was humanity's chief xenoarchaeologist, and her job was to preserve the Empire's knowledge even as their government was destroyed. "How much can we save?" her assistant, Dr. Yoon Jae-hyuk, asked. "Everything," Dr. Baek Soo-jin said. "We are not barbarians. Knowledge belongs to the galaxy, not to any one species." Her teams worked quickly to copy the Empire's historical records, scientific databases, and cultural archives. Even in the middle of a war, humans understood that destroying knowledge was a crime against all intelligent life. "Dr. Baek," Dr. Yoon Jae-hyuk said, "some of these records contain information about the Empire's genocide campaigns, detailed records of how they wiped out entire species. Copy those too," she ordered. "The galaxy needs to know what the Empire really was. History should not be hidden just because it is ugly." Emperor Vexilon had ruled the Galactic Empire for over 800 years. He had conquered dozens of species and overseen the expansion of imperial territory across a third of the galaxy. Now he stood in his palace throne room and watched human ships burn his fleets from orbit. "Your Majesty," his military advisor said, "our forces are requesting permission to use the planetary destruction weapons." The Emperor considered this. The Empire had weapons that could crack planets, turn entire worlds into asteroid fields. They had never used them against populated worlds because such destruction was considered wasteful. "No," he said finally. "If we destroy our own capital world to stop these humans, we prove that they have already defeated us." "Then what are your orders, Your Majesty?" Emperor Vexilon watched as another of his battle fleets died fighting the human swarm. Each Empire ship that fell had taken decades to build and contained hundreds of years of tactical knowledge. The humans replaced their losses faster than he could count them. "Send a message to the human fleet commander," he said. "I wish to discuss terms." Admiral Park Chan-ho received the Emperor's message while watching the final Empire strongholds fall to his forces. The fortress world that had never been conquered was now under human control. The fleet that had never been defeated was burning wreckage. "Your Majesty," he replied, "there are no terms to discuss. You have one choice: complete, unconditional surrender of all Empire forces, territories, and weapons. The alternative is the complete destruction of every world that remains loyal to you. And if I surrender, what happens to my people? They will be treated according to human laws of war. No unnecessary killing, no torture, no slavery. Your civilian population will be protected and allowed to rebuild their lives under new governments." Emperor Vexilon was quiet for a long time. "And what of the Empire itself?" "The Empire ends today," Park Chan-ho said. "No more expansion, no more conquest, no more genocide. The age of galactic empires is over." Dr. Baek Soo-jin was still working in the Great Library when the Emperor's surrender was announced. Around her, Empire civilians emerged from their hiding places and began to understand what had happened. "Are you going to kill us?" one of them asked through a translator. "No," Dr. Baek Soo-jin said. "We are going to help you build something better than an empire. Something that does not require the death of other species to survive." Colonel Lee Yun-ji gathered her troops in the capital city's main square, the same square where the Empire soldiers had wanted to fight their honorable battle. Now it was filled with human soldiers and Empire civilians working together to restore order. "Sir," Lieutenant Kim Byul-yi said, "what happens now?" "Now we make sure this never happens again," Lee Yun-ji said. "We help these people build governments that serve their citizens instead of conquering their neighbors. We make sure no species ever again has the power to commit genocide." Fleet Admiral Park Chan-ho stood in the Emperor's former throne room, now converted into a temporary human command center. The war was over, but the real work was just beginning. "Sir," his aide reported, "we are receiving surrender messages from 247 Empire worlds. The remaining systems are requesting human protection from their own governments." "Grant it," Park Chan-ho said. "Send occupation forces to every system that requests them. Make sure the transition is peaceful." And the Emperor, "Sir?" Park Chan-ho looked at the former ruler of the galaxy, now just an old alien sitting in chains. "He will stand trial for genocide. After that, he will spend the rest of his life helping to rebuild the civilizations he destroyed." "Is that justice, sir?" "No," Park Chan-ho said. "Justice would be bringing back the billions of people his empire murdered, but it is the best we can do." The Galactic Empire had fallen in less than 3 years. President Song Mi-ran stood in the ruins of the Imperial Senate building, looking out at representatives from 1,000 different species. 5 years had passed since the Empire fell, and the galaxy was still learning what peace looked like. The massive chamber had been rebuilt, but instead of throne platforms for imperial nobles, it now held simple chairs for elected delegates. "The age of empires is over," she announced to the assembled representatives. "Today, we establish the Galactic Cooperative, where no species rules over another and no world is forced to serve masters on distant planets." Ambassador Lim Jae-hyuk sat with the former Empire species, helping them understand how democracy worked. Many of them had never voted for anything before. Their ancestors had been conquered so long ago that they had forgotten what freedom felt like. "How do we choose our leaders?" asked Delegate Yith Kenna, a representative from one of the former Empire core worlds. "You decide," Lim Jae-hyuk explained. "Your people vote for whoever they think will represent them best. No kings, no emperors, no nobles who inherit power. Just citizens choosing other citizens to speak for them. But what if we choose wrong? Then you choose again next time. That is the beauty of democracy. Mistakes can be fixed." General Hong Seon-young walked through the construction site of humanity's first permanent military base outside the Sol system. The base was not being built to conquer or occupy. It was being built to prevent conquest and occupation. "How many more bases will we need?" her aide, Colonel Park Min-ho, asked. "As many as it takes," Hong Seon-young replied. "Every former Empire world gets a choice. They can have human protection while they build their own defenses, or they can defend themselves immediately. But no world will ever again be left helpless against genocidal empires." The construction workers were not all human. Former Empire species worked alongside humans to build the defensive stations that would protect their worlds. It was strange to see former enemies working together, but it was also encouraging. "Sir," Colonel Park Min-ho said, "some of the other species are asking why humans are not claiming any territory for themselves." "Because we learned something during the war," Hong Seon-young said. "Empires always fall eventually, but defensive alliances can last forever if they serve everyone's interests." Captain Won Hae-young stood on the bridge of the exploration ship New Horizons, watching a star system that had never been visited by any intelligent species. His grandfather had been one of the survivors of Luna Colony, saved by a last-minute evacuation before the Empire's attack. "Sir," his science officer reported, "long-range sensors are detecting 3 potentially habitable worlds in this system. Any signs of intelligent life?" "Negative, sir. These worlds appear to be uninhabited." One Hei Young smiled. "Then we do what humans have always done best. We explore, we learn, and we build new homes among the stars." Behind him, the galaxy was healing from 1,000 years of imperial rule. Ahead of him lay infinite possibilities for discovery and growth. The war was over, but humanity's real mission was just beginning. Dr. Park So-min, now serving as Earth's chief science advisor, reviewed the reports coming in from across former Empire space. Species that had been enslaved for centuries were rediscovering their own cultures. Technologies that had been restricted to the imperial elite were being shared freely. Scientific knowledge that had been hoarded for military purposes was being used to improve life for everyone. "The rate of technological advancement is incredible," she told her assistant, Dr. Kim Woo-jin. "Without the Empire's restrictions, these species are making discoveries that should take decades." "Is that safe?" Dr. Kim Woo-jin asked. "What if they develop weapons that could threaten other species?" "That is why we are here," Dr. Park So-min said. "Not to control their development, but to make sure they use their knowledge responsibly. We share our own research freely and ask only that they do the same." On the wall of her office hung a memorial plaque listing the names of everyone who had died on Luna Colony. Every day, she looked at those names and remembered why the war had been necessary. Elder statesman Kim Tae-ho, now retired from the military, stood in the rebuilt Luna Colony's central plaza. Around him, children from dozens of species played together under Earth's blue sky. Human children, former Empire children, refugee children from species that had been thought extinct. "Grandfather Kim," one of the human children asked, "why did the Empire want to hurt us?" Kim Tae-ho thought carefully about his answer. "Because they were afraid," he said finally. "They thought that for them to be safe, everyone else had to be weak. They did not understand that real safety comes from making sure everyone is strong enough to protect themselves. Is that why we build schools instead of conquering planets?" "Exactly. Strong friends are better than weak slaves." The child nodded and ran back to play with his friends. Kim Tae-ho watched them and reflected on how much the galaxy had changed. When he was young, different species barely knew each other. Existed. Now children grew up thinking it was normal to have friends from across the galaxy. Dr. Oh Mi-young, now serving as the director of the Galactic War Crimes Tribunal, finished reading the final report on the Empire's atrocities. The numbers were staggering. 12 species completely extinct. 47 others reduced to tiny populations on their homeworlds. Billions of individuals killed over the centuries of imperial expansion. How do we make sure this never happens again? Her assistant, Prosecutor Lee Hyo-suk, asked. "Education," Dr. Oh Mi-young said. "Every school in the galaxy will teach the real history of the Empire. Not propaganda about glorious conquest, but the truth about what genocide looks like. When people understand the cost of allowing tyrants to gain power, they become much better at stopping tyrants early. And the trials? Justice for the victims and their families. But more importantly, a clear message to future would-be conquerors. There are consequences for crimes against sentient life." Commander Lee Han-sol, now serving as the head of the Galactic Defense Network, monitored the sensor stations that watched for any signs of aggressive expansion by new empires. The network stretched across the galaxy, maintained jointly by dozens of species working together. "Sir," his operations officer reported, "we are detecting unusual military buildup in the outer rim. The hegemony of Vorth appears to be constructing a large fleet. Send a diplomatic mission," Lee Han-sol ordered. "Find out what they are planning. If they are building defenses, we offer to help. If they are building for conquest..." "Sir," Then we remind them what happened to the last empire that thought genocide was acceptable. The message was sent, not as a threat, but as a statement of fact. The galaxy had seen what humans were capable of when their families were threatened. Most species preferred not to test that capability again. President Song Mi-Ran stood before the memorial wall on Luna Colony, reading the names of the dead. 2.3 million people who had died simply because an empire decided they were inconvenient. Their deaths had started a war that changed the galaxy forever. "We did not stop until it was ash," she said to the memorial. "But from that ash, something better grew." Around her, the colony bustled with activity. Scientists from across the galaxy worked together on projects that would have been impossible under the Empire. Artists shared techniques that had been hidden for centuries. Children learned languages and customs from dozens of worlds. Ambassador Lim Jae-hyuk joined her at the memorial. "Ma'am, the Galactic Council is ready for your address." "What is today's topic?" "The expansion protocol. How we handle it when the cooperative discovers new intelligent species." President Song Mi-Ran nodded. "The most important question we face. Do we contact them immediately, or do we watch and wait?" "What do you recommend?" "We do what the Empire never did," she said. "We ask them what they want. If they want contact, we make contact. If they want to be left alone, we respect that choice. And if someone threatens them, we protect them." Captain Won Hae-young received a message from Galactic Command while exploring a distant star system. A new species had been discovered, one that had just achieved interstellar flight. They were requesting first contact protocols. "Sir," his communications officer said, "the species calls themselves the Veltar. They appear to be peaceful traders, interested in cultural exchange." "Excellent," Won Hae-young said. "Set course for their homeworld. Let's give them the welcome that humans never got." He thought about first contact between humans and the Empire, how it had started with promises of friendship and ended with genocide. This time would be different. This time, the galaxy knew better. The ship New Horizons changed course toward the Veltar homeworld, carrying gifts of knowledge, offers of friendship, and the promise that no species would ever again have to face. The galaxy alone, Dr. Baek Soo-jin, now serving as the director of the Galactic Archives, finished cataloging the last of the Empire's historical records. Every document had been preserved, even the ones that showed the Empire's crimes in detail. "Why keep the ugly parts?" her assistant asked. "Because forgetting ugly history means repeating it," Dr. Baek Soo-jin said. "Future generations need to understand what happens when good people do nothing while evil people gain power." The archives were open to everyone, from every species. School children could read about the Empire's rise and fall.